In this show, the president of Malawi speaks publicly for the first time on the Lake Malawi feud with Tanzania, and later on, former president of Zambia, Edgar Lungu's daughter, Tasila Lungu, aka Zambia's most wanted, arrested in Zambia.
And we are now on course to capacitate the Malawi Lake Service Limited to make money and create jobs for Malawians that depend on the lake. We have made it clear to two different and successive presidents across the border that every inch of the lake belongs to the realm and people of Malawi for their development and enjoyment, and that this will always remain the case. But because we're a peaceful country and a good neighbor, we will always advocate for contact and dialogue whenever misunderstandings about the lake arise.
So that was the president of Malawi, Dr. Chakwera, addressing the parliament and Malawians during this year's State of Nation Address, or SONA, in Malawi. So though he made a short statement regarding the lake, it was the first time that he has spoken in public about Lake Malawi. And I'll just repeat what he said. The president said, Lake Malawi entirely belongs to Malawians, period. That's a big statement, and he did not leave any room for ambiguity. Straight to the point with the period right at the end. Now, if you know anything about the president of Malawi, Dr. Chakwera, he is known to be confrontation averse. So he absolutely does not like confrontation, I don't think so. Therefore, he has remained quiet on this Malawi-Tanzania border dispute. This tends to sort of irritate Malawians because they want to hear from him the current government's position on the Lake Malawi. So he's come out and said it. So this, as I said, it's a surprise to most Malawians. And he went on to say that Malawi's position has been made clear to the two previous presidents of Tanzania, which I am assuming he is talking about the late John Magufuli and maybe former President Kikwete. Now, I don't remember President John Magufuli making a big fuss out of this issue. I don't remember at any point. I think he was a very busy man trying to develop Tanzania at the time. But former President Kikwete, definitely, he was all over it. He even threatened military action over this. So I'm assuming that the president of Malawi was talking about, at least one of them should have been President Kikwete, because he was all over it. The president then said, Malawi is a peaceful nation. That's why we choose negotiations whenever disagreements about the lake arises. That was his words. Now, that's a big statement, as I said. As Tanzania, as we know that they are not ready to back down either. And I have addressed this issue on this platform multiple times. Tanzania is adamant that the top half of Lake Malawi belongs to Tanzania. They call it Lake Nyasa, and their maps show that it's their lake. Now, this maritime border dispute, in my opinion, will never settle. At least not in the near future. It will never end. And will Tanzania respond to President Chakwera's firm statement about the lake? And what would be the nature of their response? Now, that's going to be really interesting because of late, Malawi and Tanzania have always avoided to talk about this issue at a presidential level. So it will be interesting to see what will be the comeback from the Tanzania side. All right, Zambia's former president Edgar Lungu's daughter, Tasila Lungu, was formally charged and arrested by the Drug Enforcement Commission, DEC, before she posted bail and went out on bail.
Former President Edgar Lungu's daughter, Tasila Lungu, returned to the country and has appeared before the Drug Enforcement Commission, DEC. Mrs. Lungu arrived at the DEC headquarters at about 10:20 hours in Lusaka for questioning. She has been on the Commission's most wanted list.
Has formally charged and arrested Mrs. Tasila Lungu Mwanza, a Member of Parliament for Chawama constituency. The arrest is in connection with the following offences. Number 1, possession of property reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime. This is contrary to Section 71 of the Forfeiture of Proceeds of Crime Act of 2010 of the laws of the Republic of Zambia. Number 2, money laundering, contrary to Section 7 of the Prohibition and Prevention of Money Laundering Act, number 14 of 2001, as amended by Section 3 of Act number 44 of 2010 of the laws of the Republic of Zambia. In the second count, particulars of the charge are that Mrs. Tasila Lungu Mwansa jointly and whilst acting together with other persons unknown on dates unknown but between 1st January 2015 and 31st December 2022 at Sinda, in the Sinda district of the Eastern Province of the Republic of Zambia, having reason to believe that real estate property, namely Kumawa Ranch, situated at property number F/2278 in Sinda district, was a proceed of crime, did engage in money laundering by using the said property for business activities.
Mrs. Mwansa, who's also Chawama Member of Parliament, has since been released on bond and is awaiting the court appearance.
Now, the arrest of Tasila was connected to 2 offences, namely possession of property reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime and money laundering. Apart from being the president's daughter, the lady, Tasila, is also a member of Parliament of Chawema, in case you don't know her. Her father is Edgar Lungu, who was the president of the great nation of Zambia between 2015 till 2021. He was a one-term president. I believe he wanted to contest, and I think in December the judges told him that you can't contest again because that will be your 3rd term. I believe if he completed late Levi Mwanawasa's term and then he got elected into office, then he said that that wasn't his term, but obviously the court thought otherwise, the Constitutional Court, and they said, nah, you cannot contest. So he will always, so was he a one-term president? So it's not right to say that he was a one-term president because technically he served for 2 terms, however short the first term was. He lost the elections to current President Hakainde Hichilema, a man affectionately called Bali, during the campaign. I don't know. Do people still call him that, or that sort of honeymoon period is over now? Because you know how people, when they're new to the job or they're running for office, people are so passionate about them, they like them, everything about them. They get into office and then it's not as easy as people thought it would be. They start to sort of, pull back a little bit. Instead of calling him Bali, now he is, Your Excellency the President and stuff like that. So, be interesting. Now, the alleged crimes took place between January the 1st, 2015 and December 31st, 2022 in Sinda, Eastern Province, where Tasila possessed real estate property, namely Kumawa Ranch, valued up to approximately 8,840,000 kwaches. I saw footage of someone driving next to the estate, and oh boy, it looked massive because he kept driving and you could not get to the end of the ranch. So the driver claimed that that's Tasila's farm. So I did read an article that late last year she was put on the most wanted list. And you believe that? Most wanted list for the Drug Enforcement Commission of Zambia. So she was out of the country then. So she has been out. She's been in the United States of America. And judging by the footage, when she arrived, with the lack of police activity around her, she definitely did not look like Zambia's most wanted. What I would like to know is, who else has been on Zambia's most wanted list? because you'd have to really do some really nasty stuff to get on that list. Now, this story reminds me of the Eduardo dos Santos' daughter story, Isabel dos Santos. To be fair to the Zambian lady, there is no comparisons there. The scale of corruption with Isabel dos Santos was just at another level, astronomical level. Now, if Isabel was put on that list of Angola's most wanted, I would go with that. She deserves to be on that list. Tasila's arrest follows a long-running legal battle surrounding the farm, which was previously ordered to be forfeited to the state by the Economic and Financial Crimes Court in September 2024. However, the Court of Appeal granted a stay of execution in January 2025. You know, when people talk about a stay of execution, you are thinking of, do you know what I mean? Allowing Tasila to retain possession of the farm pending the outcome of her appeal. Essentially, she gets to keep the farm till the final judgment. Now, the Chawama lawmaker or MP has since been released on police bond and was expected to appear in court soon, according to DEC Public Relations Officer Alan Tamba. Yeah, of course, rich people don't normally stay in jail for for too long. You get into jail this in the morning, you bailed out in the evening, in the afternoon. I mean, let's face it. Most laws are applicable to the less privileged, those people who can't afford lawyers, who can't afford to post bail and all that. Then in our countries, Zambia, Malawi, wherever, Zimbabwe, you do face the full force of the law because you don't have money. But people with money like her, nah. So this is not the first time Tasila Lungu has been accused of corruption. In May 2024, she was detained alongside her mother and sister on fraud charges, which the family dismissed as political vendetta. Her brother Dalito is also facing corruption charges. So the whole family is facing corruption charges pretty much. What are these people? Are they like the crime family or something? Allegedly, you'd say so, no? A crime family. I mean, not that they're guilty of anything, but politics in Zambia can be nasty. Well, anywhere in Africa, anywhere in the world can be nasty. Especially at the very top, we have Zambia has a history of tit for tat with incumbents and their predecessors. The current president Hakainde Hichilema was jailed for 100 days while he was in opposition for treason. I mean, there's an argument that he wasn't the president then, but doesn't take away that he was also persecuted. Those were the terms that they were using at that time. I remember it was over a convoy. I think the Edgar Lungu's convoy was meant to overtake him, or no, Hakainde is meant to make way for the president, which we all know that you're supposed to do that, but they didn't do it. And then, there was a bit of commotion when the president's motorcade eventually overtook the Hakainde's motorcade, and I believe that's where the charges of corruption, not corruption, but treason came from. But they were later dismissed, those charges, thrown out of court. I think the mediator was some Commonwealth General Secretary who came over and said, just leave this story and, let's all move on. And that was that. President Edgar Lungu himself complains of being mistreated by the current regime. So that's them. But we all know about late Kenneth Kaunda, who had a long feud with Chiluba. Chiluba too had his own court cases, and oh man, it's all drama. So the moral of the story is avoid being a former president in Zambia if you can. All right, let me know what you think about these stories, and I'll see you in my next video.